It's that time of the year again, time when everyone likes to throw out their speculations for what may or may not be included in the next game, what people want to see included, and this year, I've actually got something to say, so I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon too. So yeah, this is my 5 things I want to see in WWE 2K19, you know the drill, you know how this stuff goes. This first one seems kind of like a no-brainer to me, but I think it'd be really cool if we were able to copy over the My WWE settings over into Universe Mode. More specifically, Universe Mode. I don't know if Career Mode has the option for it either, because I don't really play Career Mode. But I've always found it super inconvenient when the game first comes out, and I go in, and I try to set up all my factions, try to, customize my Universe Mode to keep with the story that I've been telling, to create the factions I've created and whatnot. But then, if I ever have to do anything in Exhibition, I can't just copy those over. So I can go in and I can create a faction in Exhibition, or I can create a faction in Universe Mode, but I can't just copy that over. I have to go back in and recreate everything from scratch, which means if I create a tag team, I have to go in and I have to re-edit their moveset, I have to recreate their entrance, their victory scenes, I have to put that all together twice. And depending on how many factions you have to put together, I know for me, I think I had to create anywhere between like 5 and 10 this year, and this could be more as the series goes on. So it's just inconvenient and time-consuming, unnecessarily time-consuming, I feel, to have to go in and make the faction 2 times over just so that I can have full access to it, a full range of utilization throughout the game. This was a feature that was available back in the early SmackDown vs. Raw days, where for GM mode, if you wanted to import your stables or your factions, you could do that. Although in the newer games, this would also apply for set champions, so if you want to just import a set of champions from the game, then you could do that. Or if you wanted to, there could be an option where if you want to just start with default champions, you can do that. Or if you have already had preset champions from your My WWE, maybe you're trying to keep up with the current day roster, so you want to start your Universe Mode with the current day champions, then I think there should be an option to copy that over from My WWE. Like I said though, this would be more so an issue with the tag teams and stuff, because when you have to go in and re-edit entrances and movesets, it can just be a little unnecessarily time-consuming. There's a lot of extra steps you have to go in to make sure everything is perfect, and I think this would be a simple and easy fix to reduce the time you have to spend setting all this stuff up, and can increase the time you spend actually playing the game. My second option is more so from a Universe Mode creator's perspective, but I just think it'd be another good option to have. I would like there to be, in the match creator, an option for you to start the match with a pre-broken announce table. If you're someone like me where you're editing together multiple exhibition matches to try to create one seamless match, then stuff like blood and barricades being broken, announce tables being broken, those, if you don't actually go in and make sure that that's all set accordingly, then it's going to be noticeable that you cut together multiple matches. And I think just having the option to start with somebody already being busted open or somebody already having broken the barricade, it will save time going through the process of re-breaking the barricades, re-breaking the announce tables, having to hit somebody in the face with I don't know how many chair shots or head targeting moves until they're finally busted open, because busting someone open is very inconsistent. You can hit somebody 3 times and they'll bleed, or you can hit somebody 23 times and then they'll bleed. You never really know when it's going to happen, when it's going to work. So I think having an option to set all of this stuff beforehand, before you go into the match, it'll just save creators time who are trying to put together these matches. An example of this for me was at my Battleground event. I had a triple threat between AJ Styles, Cesaro, and Samoa Joe, and down the stretch, AJ Styles put Samoa Joe through the announce table. However, after that, I cut together some separate singles matches and whatnot, so I either had to break the announce table again, which I sometimes did. I had to do that to get the victory celebration, because if somebody saw that the announce tables were in place, then that would kind of be an issue. It would break that immersion. But really, thinking of this from also a bigger picture perspective, if you are creating an entire show where, let's say, very first match of the night, the announce table gets broken, then in the very next match, that will be magically put back together by the ring staff or something, which, yeah, you can kind of explain it that way, but I think it'd be cool if you could have the announce table get broken in the show, and then for the rest of the night, the announce table is still broken because obviously it was destroyed, and usually
those don't get put back together right away, so that way you can have a bit of extra breathing room to sort of sell that yes, the announce table was destroyed in the last matchup, so now nobody can use it in this matchup. Again, it's a small detail, but I think it would be pretty useful for Universe Mode content creators like myself. So in WWE 2K18, they introduced the new dragging and carry system, where you can pick a guy up in a powerbomb position or in a fireman's carry position, you name it, and you can carry them around to different environments, to different locations, and then hit them with a move of your choice. However, one thing that I think would be a cool expansion on this would be to have tag team carrying moves. This could be like a tag team gorilla press, a tag team suplex, a tag team gutbuster position. These are just things I'm spitballing off the top of my head. But I know, like, obviously you could drag people around and say you want to go for a double suplex, but you want to drop them over the top rope like you used to be able to do in the old SmackDown vs. Raw games, then you could do that. Or if you wanted to do like the Shield 2-man powerbomb, unlike the 3-man, which is an OMG moment, but you've seen guys like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns do it, or Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns do it. Have that kind of powerbomb, but maybe you want to do a powerbomb into a turnbuckle with 2 people, or maybe you want to gorilla press somebody over the top rope into the floor with 2 guys, but it's like a massive guy, so you would need 2 guys to be able to pull that off. I think it would be a cool addition. The way you would obviously trigger this is you have one guy get them in the collar and elbow tie-up position, where you just grapple them with X, and then the other guy goes over, and instead of hitting X to grapple them, or I guess it'd be A on the Xbox, instead of hitting the grapple button to do a double team move, instead you would use the controls to set up a carry grapple, and then both men would put them in either position. So obviously you'd control it with the analog stick if you want to do a double suplex or a double military press, you name it. That would be how you set that up. I got this idea from another Battleground spot where Bray Wyatt carried Dean Ambrose out of the arena, where he just kind of carried him over his shoulder. But my original plan for that was hopefully to have like Luke Harper and Eric Rowan carry him out, but that wasn't an option in the game. It was just easier to have Bray Wyatt carry him out himself. So that's what I ended up going with. But I do think it'd be cool, just as another sort of option of presentation, I guess, to be able to have 2 guys carry somebody out for a similar scenario, or even just to use it in matches to throw people into environments, into barricades, turnbuckles, top rope, you name it. Going back to the match creator, I would like to see this expanded on a bit more. As I've said before, I think it would be really cool to just kind of go with the set template of this is a one-on-one match, and then you just have free reign to do whatever you want. You can kind of create stipulations from there. Or with like, I want to do a 6-man match, or say a 6-man battle royal, but I want it to be the old pinfall elimination battle royals that you used to be able to do. Or maybe I just want to have a 6-pack challenge. Maybe I want to have a 6-man matchup, but I don't want it to be elimination. I want it to be kind of like a Money in the Bank, but with a pinfall stipulation instead of all the ladders and whatnot. Maybe I'd want to take that 6-man matchup and turn it into like a triple threat tornado tag matchup that you used to also be able to do in the older games. I would love it if the match creator was a bit more flexible in what we'd be able to do with it, but also I think it'd be even cooler if it was more flexible, that you could upload and download these different custom match stipulations from the community creations, because nowadays you can save your preset match stipulations. So if I wanted to create a First Blood, I can save that and use it in my own game. But what if somebody else, like First Blood is an easy matchup to recreate, but there are certain, I guess, more obscure matches you could probably create with a match creator. And so if you uploaded them, it would just be easier for people, instead of, oh, how do I set up this timer with this stipulation and this amount of people in it? It might just be easier for somebody to go over and just download it from community creations. And the 5th and final thing that I would like to see in WWE 2K19 would be the ability to just use custom attires in Highlight Reel. It's kind of inconvenient. I mean, you have 100 call slots, which for me isn't an issue because I don't use a whole lot of created wrestlers. But if you're someone who has an entirely custom universe mode where you are only using custom superstars and using it for other things, it's a little inconvenient to have those slots. Like, you have to spend 2 slots to be able to use a guy's certain special attire in a promo, because you have the custom attire to use it in matches, so that way the entrances and the moveset is all good. But then you also have to create an entirely separate superstar with that same attire just so you can use them in the highlight reel. The only other way that you could do that at present is just not create the alternate attire, but just like keep it as a separate superstar, and then at that point you would just copy over the the moveset and the entrances from the original Superstar, but that's a lot of extra steps that I don't feel like you should have to do. And those are the 5 things that I want to see in WWE 2K19. Now, take what I say with a grain of salt. Obviously, I'm not a game designer. I don't know how complex it would be to add some of these mechanics in, so something that I might see as a no-brainer, that I might see as an easy fix, might not actually be as easy as I would think. And I do also take into consideration the fact that these games are released yearly, so there's only so much time the people will have to actually put everything in the game. But that's more so WWE's fault for wanting a yearly release, which, I mean, who can blame them? People buy the games anyway, they make the money, so I guess I really can't fault them for that, from like a business perspective. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I think I covered everything. God, I feel like it's right on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't place it. What am I forgetting? So I'm sure that this one doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. We get a bonus addition to this, but GM mode, I'm a huge GM mode fan. I loved it back in the 2006, 7, and 2008 days. I mean, it was a great mode. It had a ton of flaws with it, though, so I can't get the proper enjoyment out of it that I feel as though I might be able to receive from a newer, revamped version of the mode, a newer take on it, where it could go in and fix those old flaws and probably create new ones, because that's just how game design works. But give it a few years, because like I said, game design, they have to do it over the course of a single year to get these games out, so this one would be a multi-year endeavor to actually get it to the point that I would like. At least that's what I would assume. But while I know that this is the cliche thing to bring up as GM mode, because everybody's been clamoring for it ever since they removed it from the game, and now that there's the brand split, there's no better time like the present than to bring it back. But I would like to see some new additions added into it, along with trying to, fix the broken rating system and all the weird mechanics in the old games that don't make a whole lot of sense, kind of go in and recalibrate those, try to fix those up a bit. But on top of that, I think it'd be really cool, some new features that you could add for a modern day GM mode, especially given how much games have changed since SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 came out. I think it'd be cool to have an online GM mode, kind of like what Madden would do with their connected franchise. Obviously you would have the original base franchise mode, but then you just take it online and you can play against other people. So with GM mode, let's say I want to do a collaboration with Murph's YT13. He's over in Australia, so obviously we're not going to be able to sit down on the same console and play a GM mode against each other, try to compete against each other to see who can win. So what we could do with this online feature is just set up a GM mode. Let's say I want to be Raw, let's say he wants to be SmackDown, and then we can kind of play it out through there. There are a lot of the mechanics from the old GM mode that you could go in and kind of revamp, maybe expand on a bit more, especially now that WWE is more focused on kind of reality. The old saying, kayfabe is dead. So I think you could kind of peel behind the curtain a little bit more in terms of how you'd want to set this up. Maybe look at it from more of like a TEW perspective, where it's like a booking sort of simulator, but also with the gameplay attached to it. And on top of that, being able to integrate all the new custom features that have been added in, custom titles, custom championships, custom shows, and be able to edit the calendar like you would for a universe mode. But I think there's a lot of cool things you could do with it. You could customize the calendar to, say, maybe stack 2 shows on one day, and you kind of have to go head to head, like recreate the Monday Night Wars. Or maybe you could have up to like 4 or 6 players, and then you could have like 1 show on each day of the calendar, save Sundays for pay-per-views, obviously, and then kind of work from there. Maybe you could kind of form alliances with another player and try to screw over one of the other brands to try to work together, like what Raw and ECW did back in the day, where they were trying to kind of coexist to work against WCW. I think there's a ton of possibilities with modern day GM mode if they were to bring it back. The brand split is in effect. There are general managers on both shows, and they're kind of they'll do the head-to-head thing every now and then. So I just think it'd be a cool thing to bring back. There's no better time, no more relevant time to bring back GM mode. So yeah, obviously that's another thing that I want, but if we don't get GM mode, I understand. The other 5 things that I mentioned would be much easier to just implement currently, whereas GM mode, this would be a huge project that would kind of have to take several years to define and get it to where it would be
a really good mode. But that's officially the end. Those are the 5 things that I want in WWE 2K19. What do you think? Are there any other additions you'd like to see added into the game? Let me know down in the comments section. How would you feel about the ideas that I pitched here? Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd like to see in the new game. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on YouTubing.